Is that person drawing similarly to you? Kill them.
Now, where's Craig when you turn into like a dubstep?
Kids don't understand that.
Jason!
Sorry.
Kids don't understand that.
Jason!
Wow, this is political propaganda.
Turn into like a dubstep.
Jason!
Watching my exciting loading bar.
If you can't play well, play loud.
Turn into like a dubstep.
I still know how to do it.
Kids don't understand that.
Jason! Is that person drawing better than you?
Turn into like a dubstep.
Apologies to everyone watching. Jason!
Kids don't understand that.
Apologies to everyone watching.
Wow, this is political propaganda.
Drop the bomb.
Kids don't understand that. Welcome everybody. Hey Craig.
Hey, Jason. I love that intro. I think that intro is great. I don't think there's any problem with it at all.
Well, good. I love it too. Someone coming in without any knowledge of what the show is about might be like, "Wait, what? What's going on?" But I think they'll learn very quickly that it's all fun.
It is
And
it is very clearly just silly, you know.
yeah. Good. I'm glad you think so. Welcome everybody in the chat. Oh my goodness, we got lots of comments. We got Alan. Alan's a member. Welcome, Alan. Got Richard Smith. Got Garrett. Electra Art. Loves the intro. We got Brad, who's also a member. We got Ninja. Pixel Dexter 7. Welcome everybody. So if you guys got comments, questions, an easy way to get my attention is a super chat, obviously. You can also just type question in all caps and then what your question is. And one of us eventually in here will realize you're asking a question to the group. If you want to specifically direct it to me or Craig or anyone else that comes on the show, just put their name in all caps as well, and we'll find your question and answer it on the show. Every now and then we'll miss a question, so feel free to double up, ask it a couple times. So anyway, yeah. So I'm just working on Phobos. If you guys, okay, so I'm just doing all kinds of housekeeping right now, Craig. If you guys want to become a member of this channel, I'll send you links to Phobos as I'm finishing batches of pages, probably like once a month. You can also get access to that by becoming a patron. I'm getting close to releasing another batch of pages. And so, yeah, so jump on board. And in the next week or so, you'll be able to get everything read and caught up to where I'm at. I'm getting close to 300 pages now. There's about 270 pages I have. So, yeah, I guess I should start drawing so that the screen isn't boring.
You're becoming like a professional host now.
Yeah. They just mumble on and on and on.
No, you're presenting all of the relevant information that people need to know.
Yeah, that's true. And if you do become a member like Tobias here, I'll throw your comments on screen a lot more often than other people. Anyway, so there you go. I also have Cognitive Drawing. You can get it. I've reintroduced it back onto my Gumroad page. If anyone wants to just get the digital version of it, it's on Gumroad. $15 for the digital version. The full book, though. It's also on Indiegogo if you want to still get the book. Welcome, Zach.
Hey, what's up, Jason?
Not much. Just doing all the housekeeping stuff that I always never do.
Oh, that's always fun.
Yeah. What else is there? What else do we need to talk about before we just draw on? Yeah, join my mailing list at coffeetablecomics.com because when Phobos is ready to launch on Kickstarter, I'm going to send it out to my mailing list. So that's usually the best way that I find to get a hold of people and let people know what I'm doing. And you can also read the first book of Remind by joining my mailing list. I send you a PDF of it. Oh yeah, speaking of Remind, it's on Macroverse right now. There's some kind of interesting news about that. Not at all what anyone's thinking, but I want to tell you, but I can't tell you until I'm told I can tell you. And I kind of don't believe it either. I mean, it's not anything big. Like, I'm not like selling a Netflix deal or anything, but it's just kind of like, wow, really? Now? Why is this happening now instead of when I released Remind a long time ago? Anyway.
It's popular.
Now I'm really curious.
Yeah.
I wish I could just discuss it, but I was politely told not to. So anyway,
I'll be honest. I mean, I'm just getting started with things, and I'm just starting to produce some decent pages. But I am super interested in Macroverse.
yeah. Oh,
if I felt like I could produce enough content quickly enough, I would call them right now.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the good thing about it is the good thing about making comics and doing it yourself is you every 2 years or 5 years you can repackage things and resell them to new platforms or whatever it is. That's kind of what I've been doing now, and which reminds me, I need to send the rest of the Remind pages to this company called Much Room Editions, which is they're translating it to French and putting it on their app.
Oh, that's cool.
And they actually have a really good pay rate. If I have like just one person reading it, I get like $100. There's a little more than $100. If I have, it goes up, it notches up too. There's incentives. The more people read it, the more it gets. And it's for a France audience, which I believe is like a huge comic audience.
Yeah, there's a lot of comic French things going on, especially now. I don't know why.
So I'm like, well, and plus this company, Much Room Editions, they're putting a lot of money into it, just like how Webtoons was when they started. It reminds me of them, and they're trying to do a French version of Webtoons, but their own thing,
Well, I mean, honestly, the French in general have a huge history with animation and comics. Like there's a long history there of French animation and comics. What was the little Viking guy?
And the guy just passed away recent too. What is it called?
Oh, I can't remember right now, but it was huge. I mean, it was a worldwide craze, and it was originally a French comic.
Huh. Yeah, Asterix.
Oh,
yes.
Really?
Yeah. And I'll tell you honestly, just to put a little plug in for you, Jason, it's wonderful that you're releasing Remind digitally all over the world, but there's no better way to experience it than to have the actual book in your hand. So if you ever want to reprint those, I'm sure you'll have an audience for them.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Eventually I do want to, okay. So, when I ran out of volume 2, the hardcover, I was like, well, it's just not fast enough sales to justify reprinting more. And then I got into the mindset and being convinced from talking to comic stores, that I needed to do a soft cover that was under $10 to hit that perfect audience and blah, blah, blah. And I followed all that advice and ran that direction. And I realize now, nope, that was the wrong way to go. I still have tons and tons of soft covers of Remind, though, that are super cheap. So eventually I'll sell out of those. But still, the main goal of Coffee Table Comics is just nice hardcover collector's item books. And so I do really want to publish Remind as a hardcover again. I just have too many copies of the softcover. But the one thing I do think I want to do, which could happen with the softcovers out, is publish like a collector's edition omnibus of Remind with the whole story. And so that's always something on the back of my mind that I want to do. It just depends on the timing. Like if I have too many other Kickstarters going on, then I don't want to launch that one, you know. But
how many actual soft cover printed copies do you have in hand right now?
Probably about 2,000 of each.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
How long would it take you to hand sign every one of them? Because that would be a huge perk for someone who paid like a $200 tier on one of your next Kickstarters. That would be a huge perk. Give you a hand signed copy of Remind.
Yeah, I do offer that, you know, like so when people back my campaigns, I'll usually give them access to my past books in the survey. They can get add-ons and all kinds of stuff, and so I've been selling them that way, and I'll offer them as signed as well, you know. So and it works. I do like, for instance, the Sither campaign I had last, I offered my back catalog, but I offered it for 50% off, and I had signed options too, but those were obviously not 50% off. And it made about $15,000 extra just in selling back catalog stuff.
That's
Nice.
good.
What?
Is it
Sorry?
nice?
Yeah. So I want to keep doing that, you know? And so I figure it's kind of like I'm just sitting on money. I just need to sell it slowly. Maybe one day there'll be a bigger influx of people and I'll sell through them quicker, you know? But they're selling. It's not like they're not. So
it certainly is an asset for you. You know, I mean, it's an established brand essentially, and you know, you will find people who want it eventually.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. It's just a matter of continuing to do new stuff to sell the old stuff, and yeah, as long as the storage fees aren't too high. I saw a question. I need to go to it. And let me put it on one of your screens because I'm just sitting here not doing anything. So I'll put it on you for now, Zach, while I go through these questions.
It's always a surprise.
Okay, Richard asks, hard question. You may want to wait until the others show up. What is the best practices to navigate with around your spouse for not having differences in keeping a creative career? It's a good question.
That's tricky. I mean, you're a professional artist, Jason. That is your job. So there's a certain level of respect, I imagine, that your spouse gives to that. When you devote time to that, that is what contributes to your household.
Yeah.
If it's a part-time thing like I have, it's a little tricky because my job is something else, and this is more of a hobby.
Yeah. Yeah.
And getting my spouse to respect that is a bit of a challenge sometimes. But she's been amazing. She's been great. But I don't imagine all spouses are like that.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was doing, so ever since my wife and I got married, I've been doing art for a living, and it was really difficult for her to understand it, even when it was like freelance, and I made a lot of money doing storyboarding and stuff because we got married when I was still doing storyboarding. And it took years for her to be happy with me if she would go off to work all day doing something for, for a company, or like she worked in appeals and grievances for healthcare. So she was like a real professional businesswoman. She had business suits and all that stuff,
Mhm.
And she would come home, be frustrated with her job, and see me still sitting there in my shorts, working on something, on just a piece of art that I was just doing kind of for me, like the animation for Remind or whatever it was at the time. And she would get really frustrated and kind of feel like I've been slaving away all day, and I come home and you haven't gone out of the house. Like this isn't helping us,
Mhm.
and it took a while before there was kind of the understanding there is a different way of making a living than going and working for the big company after going to college.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
It's a huge sort of psychologically, it's a huge shift to be able to accept the fact that some people can find a profession that they love, that they don't just do for money. They do it because they love it, but the money is like a bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think we got over that. I mean, she did. She got over it. And the other part that was rough about that is it's freelance. And so paychecks came in completely randomly. And in storyboarding, when I worked for Famous Frames, the checks would come in. It was like a net 30 or a net 60. So the checks, maybe it was even longer than that. I don't know, but I could work full time, like on all these different jobs, and the money would be coming in the next month or the month after, but it would just be random. And so, it was really hard to kind of tell how much money you were going to get, like when the companies would actually pay, and so that put a lot of stress on the relationship because it wasn't something we could really budget or figure out very easily. And I was bad at budgeting too. I still am, but it was just a lot of like figuring out how to get her to be comfortable with that. And I don't know if she's ever going to be. Well, I mean, she has to be because she must be, because the lifestyle we have right now is similar, where it's like we don't know how much money is going to come in every month, because it's all about random sales until I get a big Kickstarter or something where I assign a certain amount of money per month to draw from an account, and it's baked into the year, which is what I'm trying to go for that stability type feeling, to give everyone a little bit more peace of mind, specifically my wife. And myself though too. The more that I can be like that, the easier it is for me to just sit down and work and not stress out. When I start stressing out about money, I'll start saying yes to every job that comes to me, and then I find myself buried in all these weird little jobs, and then I never get the thing done that makes me the most money, which is my next books.
Mhm.
So anyway, totally straight from the answer.
It's a very different lifestyle, though, to have that sort of boom and bust kind of. Looking at your whole year, you probably have a huge influx of funds when a Kickstarter lands, when it finishes, and then you have a drought.
Yeah.
And if you don't budget that all out and spread it out, then you could be in trouble. But
yeah, and it's kind of a newer way for me to of how I'm trying to go about my finances, of getting the finances into an account and then just draw what I need per month out of it, pay myself from the business.
Mhm.
out of it every month, and so that's my goal, is to be able to just move forward that way from this point on. But that would mean I need to keep having successful campaigns that pull in more money than it is required just to print the books. You know. Anyway, what was I? Oh, so back to the question of not dealing with, but
Spouses.
navigating, yeah, the misunderstandings and the different personalities and stuff like that. I think it started getting a little more strenuous on us, to where our relationship was really like kind of shaky. After we had kids, after I had a stable job at DreamWorks, I was still working on Remind on the side, and I was kind of like, for a while there, I was putting more. It's kind of like Remind was my first priority over. It seemed like, based on my actions, because I'd be like, honey, I know you're having a hard time, but I need to go into my office and work on a blog post for Remind. And honey, I know you know it's the weekend, but I need to go keep working on Remind. And so that started getting to her, and understandably. And so going into Remind 2, we had 2 kids. She was going through postpartum depression and all that stuff. And I decided, okay, I'm going to wake up early in the morning before anyone else wakes up, and focus only on Remind, my personal project, when no one else is going to be affected by it, when I'm not taking any time away from anyone else. And the only time I can figure that out is before everyone wakes up. And so I'd wake up at 5 or 4:45, and be on my computer at like 5 or 5:30, work for a couple hours before everyone else got up. And that really helped me to be able to satisfy the craving of working on the creative part, and then still be able to take care of everything else, be present and do bills and family and full-time job and all that stuff. So that was good at that moment. And then it even got better once we moved to Idaho, even though I was worried it wouldn't. But then there was other things that came up when we moved here, like the conversations, like, we moved to Idaho for you and for your goals and for your dreams, and to help you achieve your things. Like, what about my dreams, And so it still has come up, but I think she's recently kind of found what she really loves doing here, and it's exercise and teaching exercise. And she just has like this thing that she's doing really good. And she even loves coming into the office and participating here if I can actually pay her, so when I have the money, and I can pay her like it's her job to come in here and do things like bills and stuff, it's very satisfying for her. And then that's even more satisfying for me, because we're kind of both a part of the same goal.
It sounds like, it's funny, because my wife, when I graduated from university, we moved to the Northwest Territories, which was way away from our home. And she just followed me. And so she moved there for me.
Yeah.
To have a job, much like you're saying when you moved to Idaho.
Yeah.
And then after about 5 years there, my mother wasn't doing so well, so we had to come back to Nova Scotia so I could help my mother.
Yeah.
So she moved again for me.
Yeah.
But it sounds like what you're describing is just keeping communication open, talking to your spouse, and sharing your ideas and dreams and needs, and trying to find a balance,
Yeah. Yeah. There was a point in LA when it felt like we both had our own separate goals, and they were the opposite direction from each other, and we were running as hard as we could to hit our own finish lines. And the harder we went, the further we got apart. And so that kind of scared me, and that was kind of before we moved here. So it depends on where we're at. Like when we're having a hard time, like some of those emotions will come up again and resurface, and we have to keep dealing with them. But when things are going good, then it's kind of like it seems like things are going really good right now. So she's really been content, even though she has to do a lot of things that she wasn't planning because of the virus stuff. But anyway, I'm
kind of curious about Fuzzy's take on this, because I know you have a very young child, and sounds like you're working a lot of hard hours. And how do you negotiate that with your spouse?
Well, I'm in a bit of an odd position just because my wife is an artist just like I am. So it's almost like in some cases it's better because she understands me way more. Like there's not this disconnect that she's like, no, I fully understand what you're doing and how important it is, but also, that you're not going to get a job right away and that it doesn't work like that. That's been super easy and helpful. But on the other hand, that makes the other part of it way worse, where it's like, I also am an artist and also have dreams and also want to be doing all this work, and, only one of us can be working at a time.
Yeah.
It's odd. Right now, specifically, I'm working on a project that will hopefully yield some sort of, reward. But, we don't know that for sure. But she's supportive enough to allow me to work all these hours on this project. And then, in all likelihood, either I will get the reward that I've been working towards, or I will not get anything, and then it will be her turn to push toward her goals. And I will be the primary, taking care of our son and all that. And I don't know. The biggest frustration is trying my best not to take her life away from her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's been, I don't know, it's kind of terrifying because you can do it on accident.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. When I went, it's funny because I wasn't doing artwork at the time, but when I went to university, we had a child when I was in my first year, and my wife was working. She was working 9 to 5. And so she was working all day, and I became sort of the primary caregiver for our child, but I was also going to university. So although my hours were somewhat flexible, I felt a lot of pressure, and she also felt a lot of pressure, and she supported me for 4 years doing that. And eventually we sort of came out the other end, and there was a benefit at the end of it because I got a good job with benefits and good pay in that. But it was a tough 4 years, I'm sure, for her, because she was kind of feeling like she had to do both. She had to both be the primary breadwinner and the responsible parent. I am very grateful for the support she gave me through that time.
Yeah.
It's a partnership. You have to be in it together.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I think that's what kind of ruins relationships, is if you don't realize that there's sacrifices on both sides, and of this, push pull type thing, and trying to always understand each other, and giving yourself and your time to the other person's needs. And as an artist, it's hard to not be thinking, it's what I need. I need this, though. Don't you understand? It's art.
You just don't get it.
I don't get it. My vision.
Well, I hope that you and your wife have found a nice balance with that, Jason. It sounds like you have.
It seems like it. It feels like it. I know other issues always, things change all the time every so many years. And so, there's new kind of problems to learn through and deal with and figure out. But we're really hoping, our hope and goals are to get her in the office here, so that she doesn't have to go find an outside job, and that she can kind of make her own money from what I'm doing, from what we're doing here.
Yeah.
I'll be back, you guys.
So she doesn't have to volunteer her time to support your endeavor.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. Exactly.
You said she was doing like some online streaming for exercise programming.
Well, she works with the university here and teaches a fitness class. She also works for the local charter school here where our kids go, as a Title I assistant. So everything got turned into online, even her exercise classes. And so that was kind of like, a little hard for her to adjust to, but she adjusted really well. But it's annoying enough to where she's like, I'm not doing this again. If next year continues like this, I'm done. And then, I talked to her about shipping Cognitive Drawing because the shipping company just didn't come through at all. And she was like, she's super excited about it because it's money, and it's and she can get her friend, one of her friends involved, and and it's kind of doing her, like making her own rules, as long as it's done and stuff. And so yeah, and we've talked a lot about her trying to be the lead sales type personality behind trying to get Cognitive Drawing into homeschooler networks. And so she'll get like, a money per sale, like commissions and all that stuff. And so we're going to try that this summer, or at least once we get the books. And the hope is that she can just like make tons of sales, rake in a bunch of money for herself as well as for the business. And then she just can kind of make her own job, like figure, if that means her going to making convention trips, like actual sales, or just
almost like a promoter,
Yeah. And she's great.
I always wondered if you had ever had any interaction with Scholastic, Kazu Kibuishi had his Amulet series distributed through Scholastic. And I thought your material would really fit with that market.
Yeah, there was an editor at Scholastic that found Remind blog somehow through an article that was talking about it. And he emailed me out of the blue and it was just like, hey, I love what you're doing. Let me know what you're working on next, what your next projects are. Pitch them to me, basically. And so I was just kind of like, I got to finish Remind first. I can't think about everything else yet. And so I waited kind of a year or so before I finally pitched him. But then it was like, it was Sithra, and I had taken a hiatus from doing comics, because of the family situation and everything else. And so I didn't want to look at Sithra as something that I have to put a lot of weight on and focus on. I wanted it to just be this thing I do on the side, and so it didn't interfere, you know.
Mhm.
And so I felt weird about trying to make it be my job again, you know. And so I was hesitant to pitch that to him. And then years later, I finally was like, all right, I have this contact at Scholastic. You know, we've talked a couple times on email. I'm going to email him, and he doesn't work there anymore. So, you know, that's my relationship with that.
Oh man, that's a shame. That's a shame, because really your material would fit really well with their whole market, you know.
Well, it is a little different because the structure of the books, you know, like there's certain little things that I do that would have to be changed. Some of them are big things, you know. And so, yeah, I'm not sure if I could have just ported over things the way I'm planning on doing it to fit their business model. I'm not sure, but I would like to pitch future stories to them that I know that, and kind of tailor them to fit that middle grade audience a little bit more, and just see if there's any interest, you know. But I would pursue that like the traditional way, like through an agent, like getting an agent, and
yeah, for sure.
But I don't know. I might just continue to keep having success with the campaigns if the campaigns keep going well.
Well, there's something remarkable about having the creative freedom to do it yourself.
Yeah.
So I can totally appreciate where you're coming from with just doing your campaigns.
Yeah.
And if you have 1,000, 2,000 people that are willing to contribute to that may be enough. And, you know, there's something really great about feeling like you have enough, you know, if not wanting to basically get the movie deal. You know, you just want to have enough money to feed your family and pay your rent and do your thing and save a little for the future. And that's good enough.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to be a billionaire.
Yeah. Yeah. It would, if I could have everything taken care of and live a pretty simply, like, then I think that's kind of more my dream, because, you know, the more money you get, the more complicated things get.
Yeah.
The more stuff you have, the more you have to worry about it.
Oh, it just creates anxiety. It really does just create anxiety.
Yeah. I think, though, if I were to make a lot of money somehow, I would be pouring it into multiple projects, you know, hiring the ghostwriter to work on this, having a team working on new cognitive drawing books, you know, like it would be, you know, maybe hiring a guy to thumbnail an entire book for me. That would be very challenging for me to do, you know, and then I could just execute it a lot faster. And so that's the kind of stuff that I'm excited about if with the prospects of getting a bunch of extra cash, you know, on top of just having money in an account to pay for the bills for the next year.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I saw one of your videos where you talked about hiring somebody to do your flatting for you. And I thought, wow, how would that speed up your process if you could just get somebody else to do the flatting and you could just focus on the line art and the dialogue and the story writing and just let somebody else deal with that flatting. You know, there's a lot of sense in, you know, parsing out those pieces.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, dude with the hair.
I definitely have it. I didn't mean to say anything about Craig. I was just like joining, and I was like, "What am I going to be today?" I was like, Like I got hair and it's wild because I didn't do anything with it. I typed in do with the hair and then I pop in and there's Craig and I'm like, say anything. I'm just gonna draw and hopefully no one will.
I'll be honest with you, Zach. I started losing my hair when I was like 17, so I'm comfortable with it now.
I'm sorry, Craig. It was a slight against you. It's just like I was like, man, that was a bad decision. As soon as I jumped in.
No, I'm not slighted at all.
Okay.
It's funny though because I started losing my hair when I was 7, and I used to have really long hair. My hair's red, like really bright orange, copper kind of color, and I had hair down to my belt, and I started losing it. And when you've got hair down to your belt and it starts receding, it's a traumatic experience, you know.
Yeah.
And it took me years to come to terms with it. And I don't know. I saw one of the, a movie where there was an actor who previously had been quite a heartthrob and had started losing his hair. And in the movie I saw, he had completely shaved his head. And later on, I had like this dream about this guy, and it was just like, you know what? If he can do it, I can do it. So I just started shaving my head, and I was fine with it after that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, I am gonna have to go. I might be on later, but
No explanation needed.
yeah, I appreciate it. You guys have a great day.
Yeah, you too.
Later, Fuzzy.
See you tomorrow, hopefully.
What are you working on, Zach?
Another page, another spread. You know, trying to distract myself. I think next week I'm going to not jump on the internet for a whole week. Just take a whole week off. So I finally hit my point today where I woke up and, you know, I get my cup of coffee and then I jump on my computer and I like, you know, look at my email and I was all excited because it was like, oh, your books are going to arrive not the books, the prints for the campaign are arriving Thursday. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's super cool, you know, and you know, and then I jump on Twitter just for it like an instant, and I'm just depressed, depressed, and I was just like, oh no, and then I just jump off of that and I go onto YouTube, and then I'm more depressed. You know, and so I'm like, man, I need to take a week off because I just like I feel like an ulcer happening because of the amount of stress of just looking at things that aren't even happening to me directly. Just you know, like all this worry that happens because you see the world on fire, you know, and then you get all worried and all the stress and everything. So you just, you know, makes you feel sick. Yeah. I think I'm gonna take next week off and just work on this and stay away from the internet.
That's a good idea. I'll have to prepare myself to just be streaming solo.
Well, I think Fuzzy and Jessica and Greg will come on.
There'll be somebody.
Yeah, there's always somebody for you, Jason. If not, you could just do what you did that one time where you just like invited people from the chat.
Sure, yeah.
You know, get Tobias on here and whatnot.
That's true. Yeah, the internet has a good is a good way of making us worried.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of feels like it almost shouldn't. It's almost like humans aren't meant to know everything that's going on around the world in everyone's minds at the same time.
No, that's actually that was interesting that you said that. Is I watched a video this morning, and it was actually from a Joe Rogan segment where they were talking about how people are having mental breakdowns, but that's actually a good thing because if you apply too much stress, like having too much knowledge about what's going on just causes so much stress that your mental state will just break down eventually, from it. So the one of the best things to do is to try to disconnect yourself and to only think of things locally, that are like in immediate ways, like things that are happening in your state, in your neighborhood, sort of things. To your life specifically, don't look at the big picture because there's literally nothing you can do about it. Number one.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So you stressing out about it isn't going to help anybody at all. Yeah, you could take precautions to prepare yourself of maybe things to come, but other than that, there's like nothing really you can't make it stop. You can't make it, start. You can't do anything about it,
Yeah.
So there's no point in causing yourself so much stress. And right now, just the amount of there's no escapism right now. Like, I usually go on Twitter to look at other people's art and to see what my friends are doing, their projects, and to share their stuff and whatnot. But it's just littered with this and that and that and this and every single bad thing that could possibly be happening. And it's constantly new bad things happening every day. Yeah. And it's like this addictive sort of like it's almost like you get addicted to the anxiety of what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's really, really bad. Like last night I could not sleep because I had my stomach acid reflux of the stress of everything going on. I had nightmares all night and I was like why? Did I have my breaking down moment, where my mind just couldn't handle it anymore. So I'm like, I'm not going to jump on Twitter for the rest of today. I'm going to be on here with you guys and just focus on what I'm doing right here. Yeah. And then I'm going to, later, I'm just going to hang out with my wife and my kid, and I'm not going to do anything else.
Yeah.
I think that's a wise decision, Zach, honestly, because you can get so caught up in the insanity that's going on Twitter in particular. YouTube can be just as bad sometimes, but Twitter in particular, it seems like all the extremes are just, they're expanded to the point where you start thinking they're relevant, and it's like, just shut it off.
Well, it's also counterproductive.
Yeah.
It's like you get stressed about the thing, so you do more research on the thing, and then before you know it, that's like 4 hours have gone by, and you've just wasted 4 hours doing nothing but stressing.
Yeah.
And that's like been my big problem this week so far. That I'll other than hanging out with you guys, that's been the highlight, keeping me working, because once I get off with you guys, I'm like, okay, I did some work and whatnot. Let's go check X, Y, and Z.
Do it.
And when I do that, all of a sudden, like it's 12 at night, and I'm like, what happened? And I'm all stressed out, and I can't sleep.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm like.
I like your idea, though, just sort of focusing on what's happening locally in my community, because that's the foundation of everything. If you can just engage in your own community and try to do good and try to support people and benefit your community, that can grow. But if you get so hyper focused on what's happening nationally or internationally or what have you, you just stress. You just get really stressed out, and then you can't do anything.
And there's nothing you can do anyways.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
Other than, post on Twitter how angry you are, which we see isn't helping anybody.
It's kind of pointless.
It is. So it's just like, so I'm probably going to take a week off just to work, like just to grind because I'm a bit behind on certain pages and whatnot, and certain edits that I need to make from the people that read the first half. So I'm like, I need to go back and do all that stuff and then finish the second half and get it to the editors and whatnot. And I'm a little bit behind on that, so it's like and there's I kind of I don't know. It's kind of weird because I get this question in my brain that goes, "You're making comics while the world's on fire. Is what I'm doing actually even important? Should I stop what I'm doing?" You know what I mean? That's kind of a weird thing that question that pops in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you guys feel about it, and I keep grinding just because that's the only thing I feel like I can do right now.
I totally disagree with that attitude. And honestly, I mean, I'm not a professional artist. I haven't really published anything, but I feel like story is the only way that the world is going to come together eventually. It's our stories that teach us and bring us together. And all this bickering that goes on the internet is ridiculous. But when you write a good story that has a moral, that crosses boundaries, and it crosses generations, and it crosses continents. And it can be really powerful. I think there is value in what you guys are doing, and totally you should keep it up.
Okay. I'll do it because Craig said so.
Yeah. I think I kind of was feeling that when I finished Remind, Zach, and I felt like, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through this? If it's just going to, part of it was more personal too, if it's causing stress in the family. But there's too many other things going on in life. There was drama back then too. But I did really question for a while, and I took a year off, and that was kind of my question and my prayer, and Craig, I know you're an atheist, so forgive my
no
talk going on, but that was kind of like my prayer was like, God, how should I even do this? Like, does this matter to anybody? And I came to the conclusion after a year, like, well, yeah, I mean, if I like based on just reading the Bible, like Jesus spoke in parables. These were stories. The Bible is a bunch of stories, and it's and these kind of things and stories is what changes the world, just like what Craig was saying. And my kind of conclusion was like, well, if Jesus used parables and stories, then it must be important. And he was doing it like before Jerusalem burned to the ground. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was a lot of stuff going on back at that time that makes this probably look pretty silly, like serious, like dead bodies everywhere type stuff, Mm-hmm. And yet there was stories being told and written down and preserved. Why? Because it was important.
They were important, yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I agree with Craig. I think you have this, the stories and the things you're working on have more value than you think they do. And it can also be looked as an escape, like to let people just escape reality. But I think it also is great for teaching lessons and morals and ideas and, writing on history or all that stuff, whereas Twitter and social media and relevant events, they come and go, but the world's always going to have them, And how do we deal with these relevant events? Well, we can learn from stories and
mm-hmm.
and teach each other how to deal with this kind of stuff, and what's important in life and all that stuff, So anyway, that's all to say, I'm on board with that whole idea of like focus on just locally and even like family, because and Shelly like gets annoyed with me, but I get annoyed with her because she's like on her like Facebook, like scrolling through stuff. And it's like in the like 12 and I'm like trying to get to bed and she's like, oh, look, so-and-so just so-and-so this and this and that. And I don't know that person. And I'm like, that's like telling me Britney Spears had a baby. I don't care. Like Like, is it something happening with my dad or my mom or my aunt? No, I don't. I just don't care. Like, I don't know these people. It won't change anything in my life.
No.
So don't show me. Don't wake me up to tell me this. I'm trying to get to sleep.
There's truth to that, though. I mean, focus on what is relevant in your world.
Yeah.
Stressing out over what's happening on the other side of the planet is not necessarily productive.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think it is.
That's why I come on this show.
I don't think, just like I was saying earlier, I don't think our brains were wired to be able to consume everyone's thoughts around the world and process all the evils that are happening, I think there's a reason that it's affecting us, because I don't think we're wired that way. It's addictive, like Zach was saying too.
I don't understand why it's like why would I keep looking at Twitter if my heart is actually desiring to be stressed? Like, I don't get it. You know what I mean? It's like, I know what I'm going to find there, yet my heart desires there to be anger and stress, and I don't get it. It's a weird addiction,
Well, the companies that created all of those websites did a whole lot of research to figure out how to hook you in and get you addicted to the dopamine that your brain produces when you look at Twitter.
That comes from people like you want to post all the time so that you get likes and whatnot, and that's the addictive thing that they produce. But like when crazy events happen, and you're just waiting for the next video. Where's the next video of something crazy happening? Where's the next? When is Trump going to tweet something that makes people angry, and then I'm going to go look through those angry tweets? It's like there's a weird addictive.
It is.
To it, and it's just toxic. It just feels toxic, and then when you're done, you just feel like you feel gross, and you feel like you need to take a shower, and you're like, man, I would give anything to go to the gym right now, but it's closed, and it's like
all the circumstances combined don't help at all.
And it's
Stay
just
inside, and just then you can go online. That's all you can do. Oh, there's all this crap going online.
all this toxic stuff happening. Yeah.
Do you guys ever feel that way sometimes, though? Like, it's like there's so much toxicity that it feels like when you start talking to, your kid or your wife or something, it feels like you're vomiting toxicity out of your mouth.
Yeah.
I get that. Like, I let my wife know. I'm like, right now I feel like I'm just vomiting toxicity, so please don't take it personally.
Yeah, I totally get what you're talking about. It's there's important issues going around the world, and it's important to be aware, but the stuff you see on Twitter, just it's not meaningful. It's not curated. You don't have people who are knowledgeable sort of deciphering it for you. You just have a bunch of random people spewing their random opinions that may not have any basis in reality. Mm-hmm. It's not healthy, I don't think.
That's part of the reason, Zach, I'm getting a dumb phone.
Oh yeah. Good point, man. I've been thinking about it too. I've been thinking about just getting. They have a phone that's like kind of a high tech thing, but it literally all you can do on it is text message and call.
Yeah,
and that's the only thing it works for. But it kind of looks sleek and nice, like a new phone. But it's I actually want to get back to a flip phone because I always thought those were the best.
Yeah. I enjoyed flip phones too.
You mean a phone that just makes phone calls?
Yeah.
I do need to be able to do texts just to keep the easy communication with my wife, you know. But again, it's just for family, you know.
Mhm.
It's
I want to
not-
go back and relearn T9.
No, that's,
You don't have to go that far back, Zach.
Dude, I want to though because I was so good at it. I didn't even have to look at my phone to know. I kid you not. Like, you know, I'd be driving and I'd be texting at the same time, but I wouldn't even be looking at the screen. You know, I could literally drive and text at the same time.
Oh,
You know,
don't-
and you know that's kind of scary to say now because you see people like on their phones texting, you know, like this. But there's a huge difference between sitting here looking down at your phone texting something, you know, than like, you know, being like this and then like you're off on the side of your thumb is literally typing out like a page of text. You know,
Mhm.
you don't even have to look at it because you just know. I don't know. It was cool, but times have changed.
I never perfected the whole T9 thing, so I can't really comment on it. But
Yeah, I never got good at that either.
Must have just been my generation.
well, I think I skipped a whole generation because it was a long time there. I got really into computers for a while. I was doing computer programming. I was like developing little games and things, and I was really fascinated by it. But then there was this whole digital revolution with the smartphones that I totally skipped. I just didn't know anything about them. And just in the last couple of years, I had some of my coworkers trying to teach me how to text and stuff, and I was like, you know, this is okay. But I felt like such an old man.
I didn't like the idea of smartphones at first.
Oh yeah, me neither.
I was very against them for a long time until my wife got an iPhone, and then she was like, "Look how cool this thing is," and I was like, "I'll get an Android, but I won't because I want to be able to control more of the things on the phone. Basically, have a computer in your hand."
It is remarkable, you know, the processing power on a smartphone nowadays is beyond what you had in supercomputers like 15, 20 years ago. It's crazy. And we use it to post cat videos, you know?
Yeah, I was into iPods, you know, when they came out. But then as soon as the iPhone came out, I was like, that's awesome, but I don't want to get one. And I resisted for a long time. And then eventually I started doing conventions and Square, you know, the Square thing came out.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I went to my bank and I was like, can I just get a card reader? And it would have cost $20 a month. And then I would have had to pay a higher processing fee, and it would have been these other things added onto it. And I was like, well, it would just be cheaper to get an iPhone and pay that payment than to actually get a credit card processing unit from a bank. And so that was the main reason I got it. And then I never hardly used it because my phone, the data was never good enough for that. I would never buy the high end packages of data, and so we would always use someone else's phone, like my brother's phone, or. But that was the reason I got a smartphone, and then it just kind of stuck me in that mode of using it. But I'm so over it. I don't like looking at a little tiny screen very long, and there's just all these reasons.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I get it. But it is remarkable how convenient it can be, like you're saying about the little Squarespace thing. My wife uses that at her business,
Yeah.
and it is super convenient.
Yep. Yeah, it's all convenience.
The Square thing is really cool, but when I first signed up, they sent me like 3 of them for free for some reason.
Yeah.
I didn't understand. I contacted them. They were like, "Why did you send me 3?" And they were like, "Oh, well, we sent you 1, and then you got a deal because we sent you 1, and then for some reason it doubled, so now you have 3." Do I owe you something? Or like, no. So
Funny.
Yeah, so I don't get it. I didn't get what their promotion thing was, but I have now 3 of those little square things that I can plug into my phone or my iPod or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it was when it started, then they're totally out of date and they won't work anymore.
Oh no, this was actually, I don't even know. This is last convention I did 3
Oh,
years
recent?
3 years ago, so it's only 3 years old.
Okay. Well, I think it's out of date.
Great.
they
Because-
go out of
because-
date pretty quick.
The ones I have are completely out of date, and yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but there's a lot of things that changed, like the card, like the chip readers and all that stuff, making it way more difficult.
Chip readers. That was a weird thing that happened really recent. It was just like all of a sudden it was like everything has a chip on it. Stick it in there. Don't swipe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And your card still gets shut down for fraud, even though that's the whole reason. This will be really hard for everyone. Must do it because it's going to be so hard now to hack these. The next day,
Yep.
I get a call. It was literally like a month after I got my new chipped card that it got hacked, and and had to get a new one.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it was surprisingly fast.
It's kind of crazy.
I'm like, all right, there's some other reason they're doing this. Security, the excuse, the way to get anything into the public's hands is safety and security.
Mm-hmm.
That's those trigger words, man. You can convince anyone.
Fear is a powerful motivator. And so many businesses and politicians, they have used fear to manipulate people for hundreds of years.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that was the whole pitch with the whole chip. It's secure and it's you can't get hacked, and
like Apple tried to do. They were like, you can't hack an Apple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you can totally hack an Apple, just nobody wanted to.
Yeah. That was like their big pitch against like PCs. Well, PCs can get hacked.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, you want to bet?
Well, they had an whole advertising campaign that was around PCs getting viruses and Macs not getting viruses.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just because nobody in critical systems used a Mac. So what's the point in hacking them and creating viruses for them? It's not that they're immune.
Yeah. You'll just be able to hack an art director's portfolio. So.
Exactly.
Yay. Can't get any money out of that.
I don't know anybody that actually uses a Mac for like 3D design and anything like that. It's mostly because they're falling behind so fast on their technology that they put in those things, and they charge way too much, that people are just switching to PCs because it's like, when the stuff upgrades, they can just buy a new video card and then they can install it, and then it's like, okay, cool. More RAM. Well, most motherboards have at least 32 that you can plug in, maybe 64 if you've got a nicer motherboard. But it's like it doesn't cost nearly as much.
No, not even half.
Yeah.
I just recently, because my daughter, I told you last time, she's 16. She's got a couple of years of high school left, but she's interested in getting into graphic arts.
Mm-hmm.
And so she wanted a Mac.
Oh boy.
And I got her a used Mac for about half the cost of a new one. So she's able to explore that whole universe of Mac. But I really felt like since the loss of Steve Jobs, Mac has completely lost their direction.
Yeah.
Like he really pushed that when you buy a Mac, you get a whole variety of programs that if you're a creative person will allow you to create things. and it seems like they're really pulling back on that. It seems like even GarageBand, I think in the most recent Mac release, GarageBand wasn't available for free anymore.
Are you serious?
I don't know if they've gone back on that since.
Crazy.
But I thought that's insane, because that was the whole selling point of Mac, is that you buy a Mac and you get a variety of really good quality programs that will allow you to create stuff.
Yeah.
And if they're pulling back on that, they're going to lose a huge proportion of the people that care about their products.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of, I think, you know, when they started doing the whole entire releasing iPhones almost every year, but the features are like, we made the screen like a millimeter bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we took away your input for headphones.
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
Yeah.
And they started doing stupid decisions like that. I think that was because of, you know, Steve Jobs isn't there to say that's a bad idea. Yeah.
They've focused very much on the control aspect of the company, that we control everything from the date of sale until it's obsolete, and then you have to buy a new one. Like, we control everything. That's kind of what the whole company has become about. You can't get it repaired by anybody else. You have to go back to a Macintosh store to get it repaired.
Yeah.
You know, you can't install any other parts in it. You have to go to a Macintosh store to get anything new installed.
Yep. And then you got to pay them to install the new thing, and also you have to pay for the new thing for them to install. PC Master Race.
I know Jason's a Mac user, so I'm feeling like we're kind of ragging on him a little bit here.
I guarantee that if Jason, like, you know, had the opportunity to get, especially the PC that I have right now, he would have jumped on it. I paid, I think, $1,200, and my PC has literally the best of everything in it. Other than the graphics card isn't the Titan, was it TN20, T20 something? It's not that one. It's just it's a little brother, which is still good, and it supports ray tracing. Other than that, I have 64 gigs of RAM. I actually have two 2 terabyte SSDs and a 6 terabyte hard drive. You know, and I have this crazy motherboard, and I have the best. Other than I couldn't get the i9 because it wasn't, they haven't integrated it properly to be compatible with a lot of things yet. Gotten it. You know, it's like if I guarantee that if Jason had an opportunity to get like my PC, he would have jumped on it. Because it's amazing.
Maybe.
I don't know. He's a Mac guy.
I used PCs at DreamWorks, and they would always upgrade things and whatever, but I don't think they were that state-of-the-art computers at DreamWorks, which sounds crazy, but like there were certain things that they just would fail miserably at. And finally, one time when I was animating for the shadow puppet scene for Kung Fu Panda 2, I was trying to do it in After Effects because that's what we were, that's what we were using. And it just wouldn't, I just could barely preview anything. So finally I snuck in my Mac tower and just brought it in, put it under the desk, put a new monitor on. And I was just like churning through the animation compared to the PC that I had, which was a Hewlett Packard PC.
Yeah.
And then the producer came in and he's like, "Oh, you cannot let anyone see that in here." And I'm like, "I know, but do you want me to get this work done on time?" He's like, okay, just keep your door closed. I'm like, right. Either that or let me go home and work on it. but I think it was just the PCs that they had were really bad.
Well, that was the thing, though. The Macs really were, when they were first created and released, they were designed for creative people, and they had the technology, the hardware, and the software to give creative people the tools they needed to create. And I feel like they're kind of losing that vision now.
I think you're right. Yeah. Because I'm in the same boat. I think ever since Steve Jobs died, it's been really kind of, why are they doing that now?
Yeah.
Oh, they want me to have they're trying to force me to have a music membership now.
Yeah.
All this stuff that's just like, really?
Wasn't it? Just feels like a lot of cash grabbing.
Yeah, totally.
No, I'm not going to argue that Macs at one point were like, because my sister had a Mac when she was in college, and it was super cool to play with GarageBand and stuff. But that was like in the heyday.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where it was like for creator, Pixar used Macs and everything. So it's just like they have these heavy endorsements and whatnot.
Yeah.
Top of the line creative companies and whatnot. There was a point where Mac was the king of creativity.
Yeah. All the companies I worked for in LA use Macs.
Yeah.
Like,
but that's not anymore, is what I'm saying. Not anymore.
Yeah, they've lost sight of what made them great, which is a shame.
Yeah. Now I still use them and I still buy them, but I can't get even the same quality of computer that I could 5 years ago as far as the things I want it to do.
Mm-hmm.
I have to upgrade to like the Super Pro edition. That's like $5,000. And I'm like, really? That could handle it on an iMac, back.
Mm-hmm. The stuff you're offering me now used to be standard,
Yeah, and then you upgrade it, and people even still have problems with the $5,000 tower.
Well, I'll be honest. That's another reason why I bought an older Mac for my daughter, because I was looking at the brand new Macs, and I mean the price was a little out of my reach, but when you bought a new Mac, it didn't even have a USB port on it.
I know. Yeah.
There was no USB port. It only had these, what is it, the FireWire, or I don't know what it is the Mac uses now. But it was like a port that you had to then buy like an $80 adapter for in order to use any other equipment that you have. And I thought, that's not right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's annoying.
I'm going to sit over here and look at my 9 USB ports, and they're all USB 3 on the back and the 4 front.
Not like you're bragging or anything. No.
No.
My problem is I just can't keep PCs running. I don't do all the stuff required to keep them, from just eventually collapsing in on themselves. And
it is a bit of an issue. You have to kind of keep on top of it. I was talking to you about the audio production piece.
Mm-hmm.
Every time Microsoft Windows updates, I have to go back in and retweak a whole lot of settings to get my audio to record properly, because it starts up all these background processes that I don't want. And
I have my Windows update turned off.
Yeah, I really should do that.
It's one of those things where they started it really in 7, where those updates started really messing with things.
Yeah.
Since then, I'm really glad I never went to 8, because I heard that was an absolute mess.
I went through all of them. I did 7. I really liked 7. 8, I kind of lived with I had a Microsoft Surface, like the first generation Surface, and I lived with it, and 8 wasn't bad on the Surface. I've upgraded my home PC to 10, and it's working okay, but I do run into these issues where it keeps updating and messing with things.
Yeah, the whole Windows thing is kind of my biggest thing, that I just don't want to deal with Windows. I just don't like it.
I get that.
It's the same. It's like essentially the same thing as Apple, though. It's the same problems.
No, it's different problems. But they both have problems. They're extremely different problems. So yeah, there was things I liked about Windows. I mean, well, Windows, yeah, but PCs that are annoying with Macs and vice versa. But like I'm getting rid of my iPhone because I don't want to deal with that garbage anymore. But I still have iPads, you know. My kids have iPads, so we still have those in the house.
Why I'd get an iPad is for Procreate.
Yeah, I like the iPad Pro with the pen and the pressure sensitivity. That's all nice stuff.
I got the first generation iPad because I was like, it's gonna be something like that.
Yeah.
They gave you the stylus, and it was just like a squishy rubber double bend.
Let down.
I made a lot of art with that thing, though.
Really?
Yeah, I did. There was a program called Sketch Club, where it was an app for sketching that was really intuitive, but it also had a community involved where you could instantly upload to a profile as soon as you download it. And the community was pretty awesome. It had contests, and it was cool, and I was part of that for a long time. It's at some point, I think it was like around the third or fourth generation of iPad, that first one becomes so obsolete that the app just can't run it anymore because they have to upgrade, to keep up, and just ruins the whole entire thing. And I'm like, I'm not going to go out and buy another iPad.
Yeah.
Just to keep up with the app.
Well, to be honest, when I got my Surface, the first generation Surface Pro, I bought it used from a guy in Canada through eBay. Got it at a really good price. But I found there was a couple, that's how I got into using Sketchbook, which is what I still use now. It worked really well on the tablet, and you didn't have to have a keyboard there. You could access everything pretty quickly and easily. And I just really got used to it. But when they updated, they went to the Surface Pro 2, it was okay, but the Surface Pro 3, they lost their contract with Wacom, or Wacom, I don't know how you pronounce it, which do the Cintiqs. So the Surface Pro 1 had a Wacom digitizer in it. And then when they got to 3, they lost that. And then they got to 4 and they created their own. And I think now they're pretty good again, but the 2s and 3s were really bad from what I heard. Well.
Hey, Zach, Mia asks in the chat, who did that painting behind you?
Behind me, the trees?
Yeah.
The roots? That was me.
That was you. Oh.
I did it for my wife for an anniversary gift. She was like, I want roots. I was like, okay. So, and now we have an ongoing joke. There's a painting that hasn't been painted yet. It's just a blank canvas that still has the plastic on it.
Mm-hmm.
But we hang it up because it's the canvas that will never be used. Because it's like an ongoing commission that my wife was like, okay, I want you to do something for me for my birthday or something, but she can never figure out what she wants. So now the canvas that hangs on our wall that's still in the wrapping, tells you it's a classic collection. It's a 24 by 36, wrapped up but hangs on our wall like it's a painting. So
that's funny.
Wives are funny people.
I got several canvases that I bought in LA probably 10 years ago, 10 years before I left LA, and I still have plans for them. And it's just like, someday when I get the time, and my wife, every now and then she'll bring it up, you need to do those paintings like you were saying.
You're allowed to just hang on to them until the inspiration hits.
Paintings just take so much time to be like real paintings. And so a lot more planning than just jumping on the computer.
Yeah, for sure.
I just throw paint until it looks good.
Well, that one looks really good. Like I love those multi-canvas sort of paintings where it's spread across. I'd like actually to do that in my place. It looks really good. Ooh,
Yeah, like I literally throw paint at it until it starts taking shapes and forms, and then I
Wait a second.
pull
Nice.
shape and forms out of it.
Wow.
That's how I
That
handle traditional stuff.
that's gorgeous.
Yeah. Unfortunately for that one actually got sold, and then on the way to its owner, it got destroyed, and then I had to. So they sent it back, and then I fixed it, and then they didn't want it anymore. So now,
Oh, that's a shame.
Wow.
Beautiful.
and so like on the back, it's all had to patch it up with canvas and
Oh yeah.
repaint it because the corners and the edges got totally like someone placed something on it, and it was in a box, but they crushed the box and then destroyed the painting inside.
Wow. Well, that's neat looking.
Yeah.
Really
how I
nice.
That's how I roll with traditional. Paint.
I haven't worked traditionally for quite a long time, to be honest with you, but I kind of miss it a little bit.
Yeah, it's therapeutic. Traditional stuff is like a therapeutic thing. That's like my hobby. I paint traditionally for a hobby.
There's something about it though I mean, you've got the physical textures in your fingers, and you've got the smells, and it's different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Though I can't use oil though, because the turpentine and stuff, I get such a headache from that stuff. Just
Oh yeah.
yeah.
So are those acrylics then?
Yeah, those are just acrylics.
That's great. I love acrylic. That's like gouache and acrylics are my paint choice. Just like how they work together.
I could. Yeah, I'd like to get back into it, to be honest with you, but I don't know. Got too many hobbies right now. I could use your opinion on this. I'm trying to do a series of panels that are almost like animation, like a progression of movement, and I'm feeling like it's not quite working on the last pose. I'm not sure if I just got the angle wrong or what it is. That last pose, that last one, when that pops in there, doesn't look quite right to me.
Huh.
If I go back, so she's crouching, she leaps into the air, she kind of stretches, and then there's that bring it down, but I don't know. Does it look like his shoulders are just turned the wrong way a little bit, or?
Well, what's she doing? Is she actually cutting something or hitting
Well,
something?
she's got a staff and she's hitting something.
So is it right as she's hitting, or after she's hitting, or right before she's hitting?
This would be just before she's hitting on that last sort of frame. I was like, I mean, I'm fairly happy with, the crouch, the preparation. I'm fairly happy with the sort of beginning, the leap.
Yeah.
Although I could stretch that out a little bit. The sort of stretching, arching her back to build that tension. I'm fairly happy with that, but it's just that last panel that feels wrong for some reason.
I almost feel like it needs to be after the hit. So, because that pose right before, it's like right before she's gonna hit,
Yeah.
and almost you need to have the result of
The result of the hit. Yeah. So it's
right
almost
now,
like,
it's kind of like stopping it and taking that momentum out of it.
yeah, okay. That makes a lot of sense, actually. That makes a lot of sense. Like if I put the other character in there getting hit,
Mm-hmm.
it would feel more meaningful.
Yeah, and her actually following through, like.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jason said. Jason, are you free this Friday, or are you doing stuff?
I haven't even thought about it. I bet I could probably do this Friday. So I don't know of anything happening. Yeah. So I'll try to plan on it.
For sure. I'll tell Art to kind of just
Yeah.
you know,
And hit me up too. I mean, let me know Friday too, and
yeah.
I'll
I'll see you Friday. So
talk to Chelly about it then and see if she's good with it.
yeah. Just tell her it's to sell your book. Sell the book.
Everything's to sell the book.
Mm-hmm.
I can't use that excuse anymore.
It's not an excuse. You're going on a new platform with a new crowd of people that don't know your work and don't know you. You know?
Yeah. I'm just saying it's an old thing to tell my wife.
It was like, oh, you're selling. Oh, yeah, no, you go do that. You go do that now.
Yeah.
And I didn't answer earlier because I feel like I'm lucky because my wife my mother-in-law is a creative.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife understands creative people and their process, and because she has to deal with her own mother in that way.
Oh yeah.
So when she married me, she was very supportive and whatnot of what I was doing, and I never really had a huge amount of tension when it came to doing creative things. You know, like saying like, oh, I need to stay up late and work, or I need to get this stuff done, or whatever. She's always been like, yeah, no, you do you. The only time she's ever gotten on my case is when I'm sitting around playing video games, and she's like, shouldn't you be drawing?
Yeah.
So mine's kind of like the opposite, where she's like angry if I'm not working, you know?
Yeah.
So,
That's actually, you're very lucky, Zach. You're very lucky to have somebody in your life that understands that you have to spend a significant amount of time working, but also just generating those creative juices. You know, you have to do a variety of things.
mm-hmm. So that's why I didn't want to say anything, because I feel like I'm just abnormally blessed, and I didn't want to make you guys feel bad.
No, that's neat. I mean, that's even better that her mom was one, because then it kind of almost having you do the same things as her mom, it kind of makes it automatically feel right, you know?
Yeah, like she already knows like that her mom would, take time and sit down, have to, do these things, and took hours and hours for her mom to become really good and successful at what she does.
Yeah.
So it's like,
that's neat.
And her mom's like always on my side when it comes to talking about creative art stuff. She's like, yeah, you gotta encourage him and blah blah blah,
That's great.
So it was kind of like it was that weird case where it's like your mother-in-law actually helps you.
Yeah. That's really great.
So it's like, when I see people that are like, I hate my mother-in-law, I'm like, oh, but my mother-in-law supports me in what I do. So I can't, I feel like I don't have any dog in any argument or anything, because I can't say anything because I don't want to be like, well, that's not what I experienced.
That is an unusual experience, though, honestly.
Huh?
From a guy's perspective, you're always kind of on trial with your spouse's mother.
Oh.
You have to demonstrate that you're worthy.
I think I was like, my mother-in-law liked me from the moment she found out I was an artist. She was like, oh yeah, no, I like this guy, and it was more so I had to prove myself to her sisters. It was more so because I got bullied by her sisters relentlessly when we were dating, but I eventually, like, it was kind of weird. It's like she's my high school sweetheart, so we kind of grew up together, all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of an interesting thing, because it's like it feels very strange is that I've literally known all these people for years and years and years before we even got married.
Wow.
So I don't know. Very, very strange.
That is remarkable, you know.
Yeah.
High school sweethearts. You don't hear that so much anymore.
No.
It's nice though.
Yeah. And everybody always tells me I have a fantasy relationship because my wife is the first woman I've ever actually dated.
Ah,
Mm.
So it was like, I have friends of, we're like, oh, I've had 20 million girlfriends throughout my high school career. And I'm like, I haven't dated anybody yet. And then the first person I date, we date for a long time and then we get married. And now we're been married, 7 years this month. So,
wow. You're not missing anything, Zach. Dating game sucks.
no, I'm not interested though. That's the thing though, is that I've come to the conclusion that if anything were to happen where we weren't together, I would not be interested in investing that time into another relationship.
Yeah.
So much time involved.
Yeah.
This is it for me.
Is it?
I'm gonna make it work.
Yeah, you better make it. Well, and that's the thing I find with a lot of younger people is they don't seem to understand that a relationship is work.
Oh yeah.
You need to work at it, and you need to put some effort into it. Like, it's not going to just be magical.
Sometimes it is, but most of the time it's not.
You gotta, you gotta be willing to make some concessions and.
Yeah.
It was interesting. You guys were talking about, Jason was talking about, well, I mean, you both did the their dreams and in them, supporting your dreams and stuff. But believe it or not, I'm actually been the one that's like, when my wife wants to move or my wife wants to do this and that, wants to have a child and stuff, I'm the one that's like, okay, yeah, no, I will bend my dreams and stuff to doing what you want to do. And that's the reason why I have this opportunity to do a comic, because she was finally like, all right, well, you let me move out here to be close to my family. We have a kid, maybe it's time that you start pursuing something you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of reverse, where I was the one waiting to do things, but I was fine with it. And now she's like, well, now it's your turn. Now go out and do something. So here I am.
That's a really good example, though. Like, you were willing to be flexible and bend and support her, and now she's supporting you, and that's a good relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to log off. Go get offline, man. With your wife.
Get off.
On a date.
Man, I want to go on a date with my wife so bad. Just take her out to Chili's or something. Doesn't have to, just to get out,
Yeah.
Gosh.
Just have to step out for a second. Be right back.
Okay.
So the question is, how many potatoes do you eat?
Oh man, I don't really like potatoes.
Oh man, you live in the wrong place for that.
Yeah, I know. I grew up just kind of like not really into potatoes. I think it's because we just had so many all the time. But the potatoes I do like are the instant mashed potatoes that don't like have the texture of potatoes, you know?
Oh, so you don't like the starchiness? That starch potato.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'll eat the instant potatoes anytime, but
That's the exact same thing as my wife.
yeah.
She doesn't like actual potatoes, but she'll eat those instant mashed potatoes. So you can make them all buttery and goopy.
Mhm.
It tastes like just a potato. You guys are weird.
Yeah, even French fries, I'm like, yeah, it's all right, but I don't need French fries. I
What about sweet potatoes?
do like sweet potatoes more than potatoes.
What about your kids?
My youngest son loves the instant mashed potatoes. I mean, he will just demand like three helpings, and so I'm right there with him on that. Like he's a foodie, and he loves he loves instant potatoes. And then my oldest doesn't like the mashed potatoes very much, and he likes French fries about pretty much. That's the only way he likes potatoes, kind of. Maybe hash browns, certain kinds of hash browns. He's very picky.
And your wife's fine with it, or is she?
She likes making regular potatoes, and I'll admit that she can make regular potatoes that I really enjoy. It's just it's never been the thing that I'm wanting. But when she makes it, she does add some other stuff into it, some spices or whatever her flavors are, and different things into it to make it so that I'm like, yeah, okay, I could like potatoes. If I grew up with your cooking, I think I would like potatoes. I would not have had a problem with them. But I don't eat them too much. Hey Jim, you want to come on the stream since you missed the link yesterday? I can send you a link.
Because I'm boring Jason talking about potatoes.
Potatoes are not a subject to talk about. No, I'll have to start bleeping this out.
I was waiting for the answer to happen. To say it one more time.
just try me. Yeah.
Potato.
No, I wasn't fast enough. Oh. Yeah, I killed the whole spread, a couple pages out of Phobos just this morning, but it's good because it really didn't need that scene. So, and then I added a new scene to the end of the book. So,
Balances itself out.
kind of, but the new scene is probably about 8 or 10 pages.
Mm-hmm.
But it wraps it up nicely. I realized this morning when I was reading through it that it kind of leaves you a little bit hanging with what it's introducing,
Mm-hmm.
Like for instance, I'll just show you the page yesterday. It doesn't give away anything, but so this character with hearts is here, and it kind of like leaves you hanging with like, wait, who's this character?
Mhm.
What is this? What does the hearts represent? What is this? What is it all about? And I was just gonna like not even answer, like get even close to answering that, but I realized I need to introduce this character, which will then introduce the problem for the next book, and so that's kind of what I'm gonna. That's what the new ending sequence is, which is very exciting. And then you'll be able to see also the small character that you were wondering about.
Oh, cool.
You'll introduce him as well.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
So, and then it'll set up the whole next book. Like, okay, here's the conflict for book 2.
Mm-hmm. So, Craig, what do you think about potatoes?
Yeah, I just walked in mid conversation. I'm not sure. I live right next door to PEI, which is the potato capital of Canada. So I have to be supportive of potatoes in general.
I should be supportive of potatoes.
Jason's not supportive of potatoes.
Well, it's funny because my wife she loves any kind of potatoes, and I'm more of a rice person, rice and pasta. So maybe I missed the whole point of the conversation, but I'm taking you literally.
No, it was just kind of like I was like, what do you think about potatoes? And to Jason, because he lives in Idaho.
Oh,
super potato land.
Yes.
America. And he's like, I'm not really a big fan.
No.
So, we sat here and talked about potatoes for a really long time.
It's funny though how where you're from or where you live can really impact the things that you can say or what you're willing to support.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was born in Montreal, and in Canada, hockey, although it's not the official national sport, in the minds of most people it is. And if you're born in Montreal and you don't support the Montreal Canadiens, there's consequences. So, anytime anybody asks me, I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan. But I don't really follow sports and I don't really pay that much attention. So, and yes, I support potatoes.
Support them.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a tribalism that comes with where you live, on specific things like that, like potatoes and hockey and just anything that gets identified as that region.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of silly, but it's interesting.
Well, it in some ways I do find it kind of silly, but there's something nice about shared values and community that I can kind of appreciate, even if I don't completely buy into whatever the local sports team is or what have you. There's something about having just that shared sense of community that comes with that.
Yeah.
See, that's all I want to stress about right now. Would be like, does my neighbor, like
potatoes,
Spurs as much? That's what I want to stress about right now. If anything, to stress about something ridiculous, simple as that.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Going to be on the Super Bowl this year. Worrying about things like that. It's where I want my brain to escape to right now.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
I don't even watch sports.
I do feel like that is something that has been lost in modern culture. I know you guys are all fairly devout Christians, and there's something nice about that sense of community, that sense of shared values that I think is lost with a lot of people who have moved into atheism. You don't have that same sense of community, and it's there's something important there that you lose.
Mm. Do you think there's a way to resolve that for that community, though?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you. I've thought about it a lot. Because, of course, I'm in healthcare, and there's a strong sense of the value of the scientific method and, pursuing research and that sort of thing. But it's not the same. It doesn't give you that same sense of community.
Mm.
And, although I value research, I also find that in a lot of aspects of my life, I just don't necessarily share the same values as other people around me, or they don't. I don't know. It's kind of arrogant to say, but they don't live up to my expectations of the purpose of life, and because although I'm atheist, I consider myself to be very spiritual, and I spent a large portion of my life investigating various spiritual sort of pursuits and ideologies, and I've read a lot of Buddhist texts which have resonated with me. But yeah, I don't have that community.
Yeah. Do you go to like the Buddhist temple if there is one in your area?
There isn't any locally.
Okay.
So the only way I can really engage in that is online or virtually, and reading various books and texts and connecting sometimes with people online.
Mm.
There is one in the next sort of major city over, but it's an hour drive away.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to do that on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And even Buddhism is, I think, like a lot of different sort of religious traditions, it's divided.
Mm-hmm.
in many ways. It's splintered
Mm-hmm.
very early on, and the Buddhist tradition that I find most resonates with me is Zen Buddhism, which is mostly Japanese, and there's none of that around here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't read much on it. My brother-in-law is Buddhist, and I've read some of his, things that he's had left around the house and stuff to try to understand, the way he looks at things and stuff. So, but yeah, I just haven't read much on it.
it can get very confusing because you have, well, I mean, there's two main schools that are kind of in opposition, and there's, I can't remember any of the traditional Sanskrit names of things, but
Mm-hmm.
in the English translation, there's the lesser vehicle and the greater vehicle. And I'm trying to remember.
Vehicle like car vehicle, like that kind of terminology?
Sort of, yeah. They're talking about the overall purpose of spirituality.
Mm.
And the lesser vehicle basically has this belief that you need to work on yourself before you can be of value to others.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect yourself. Become the best person you can be before you start giving other people advice.
That's the lesser vehicle.
That's the lesser vehicle. You're more focused inward.
Yeah.
And the greater vehicle is like your whole purpose in life is to benefit others,
Yeah.
and that's it. So you just put your efforts towards benefiting others in any way you can.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they're not completely opposed, but there's a distinction there. And I think that the Zen is more of the lesser vehicle. Focus on yourself, make yourself the best person you can be, and then if you achieve enlightenment, you can help others.
Yeah. Now, isn't enlightenment? I guess this is where I just don't know much about it. So I'm, from what I understood, like achieving enlightenment is like, forgive me if I'm totally wrong.
No.
It's like being in like the meditative pose and kind of clearing your mind and all your worries and all that stuff. Is that kind of
it? Yeah, it's sort of. It's supposed to be, and I think there's different interpretations depending on who you read. But it's supposed to be this state of being
mm-hmm.
where you are completely natural.
Yeah.
That you respond to the things in your environment in a natural way, and you are propelled to respond in a positive way for the most part.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to explain, and if you read different Buddhist texts, will describe it in different ways. That, like, if you read a lot of the stuff you see online and in books and things is based on Tibetan Buddhism, which is a little odd to me.
Oh, okay.
That's where the Dalai Lama comes from.
Okay.
It's Tibetan. And one of the things, I mean, the basic principles of Buddhism from the original, from the Buddha, one of the things that he said was, don't believe in dogma. Mm-hmm. So written rules and things are not as important as you taking the time to look inward and to investigate truth for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And Tibetan Buddhism, and one of the other things that he said was that Buddhist teachings adapt to the people that you're trying to teach. So if you're trying to teach people who don't have the education and the knowledge to really understand the traditional writings, then you adapt it to a language that they can understand. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where a lot of the Tibetan stuff comes from. There's a lot of stories that were really written for children, but people have been trying to interpret them as though they're truth. And that's where they start talking about reincarnation and stuff like that.
Okay.
It was really stories written for children. You know, that the Buddha was reincarnated as a goat, or the Buddha was reincarnated as a deer, and the king hunted him, and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. It was never meant to be taken literally, and it was just written for people who didn't have the capacity to really understand the true teachings. Mm-hmm. But you know, that's all open to interpretation.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I just do not know too much about it. So I think I even have some little booklets somewhere here in my office that I got, and I was like, I'm gonna read it because it's because my brother-in-law is into it, and so I want to have conversations with him about it and stuff, but I just when I'm clueless, it doesn't. But yeah,
And that's the thing is like I mean, it's been around for 5,000 years, so there's a lot of stuff written on it, and there's a lot of stuff that kind of contradicts each other. So yeah, finding what is Buddhism is difficult.
and like you say, there is no book that collects it because of that whole teaching of like it's not about there being a book.
No, exactly. There's a whole bunch of different writings, but the basic beliefs are, you have to investigate for yourself. Don't believe just what other people tell you.
Yeah.
It's beneficial to have a teacher, but one of the big stories that they talk about, I can't remember all the details of it, but basically the point was that the saying is the finger is not the moon. And what that means is your teacher can point towards the moon, but it's not the teacher's finger that is the moon. The moon is the moon. The teacher can only point you in that direction. So you can have a Buddhist teacher, you can have someone who gives you guidance, but they can't give you the truth. You have to discover that for yourself. Which is it's kind of an interesting take on things,
Yeah.
It reminds you of the kind of like in Christianity that we're called to show other people the way, but we can't walk the path for you.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that's kind of a similar thing in a lot of religions, though. It's like kind of a you have to take this journey for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting thing. I've been quiet because I'm absolutely ignorant when it comes to Buddhism or anything, and I'm just listening.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say something that's like, shouldn't have said that.
No, not at all. I consider myself to be very open-minded, and I am open to any contribution you guys have. And I mean, really, I don't consider myself to be a Buddhist in the sense that I'm not really practicing. I'm a flawed human being. I do a lot of bad things. I do a lot of things I shouldn't do. I'm trying to be better. I feel like I'm on the path, as they say, but I don't consider myself to be a particularly good Buddhist.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think my original point is just that, a lot was lost when large masses of people started to abandon religion altogether.
Mm-hmm.
All religions have their flaws. They all have, people who try to corrupt their teachings, but it doesn't mean there's no value in them.
Oh no, I'm on my screen. Dang it.
You're giving away secrets.
Yeah. What's wrong with me? Oh, I got to make this, have one of these books be the meaning of cheese. That's my go-to book for someone who's trying to find knowledge, is they're reading the meaning of cheese.
The meaning of cheese.
I use that in a illustration for Wizards of the Coast. In one of their Vampire the Masquerade books, I had all these books on a bookshelf in the background, and one of the books said the meaning of cheese. And it's so stupid because it doesn't fit at all, the Vampire the Masquerade stuff. And then since then, it's just always been the book that I add to like someone's philosophy collection.
Is that kind of like the big corporation kind of who stole my cheese kind of book, or?
I don't know. I haven't ever read it, so someday I'll expound on it. No, it's just kind of a stupid inside joke. It doesn't mean it. It doesn't really have a meaning other than this is a ridiculous book. It's too small. My brush can't handle it. It's too small. Oh, barely.
I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
An art question.
Okay.
I find when I'm drawing, quite often, I get very focused on details. And I tend to draw things way too big. Like say I'm working on a hand. I make the hand twice the size it should be because I'm super focused on drawing the hand accurately.
Yeah.
What are the things artistically that you guys find yourselves doing and then having to fix? Like, what are your natural tendencies that you run into problems with?
Natural tendencies that are problems.
Faces. For me.
Man.
Get sucked
Yeah.
in the face, and then I realized I made their head like twice as big as it needs to. Because it's digital, I could just like crop it and suck it down,
Yeah.
No, I if I don't like keep a distance from it, then I end up doing that exact thing, but with faces.
So I stick with my thumbnails so much that I kind of sometimes the perspective will be wrong or weird, but I want to follow that so precisely because it's the right way to lead your eye that it ends up meaning I either have to break perspective or break anatomy or and so that it's always that's kind of the thing that I always run into a lot, like for instance, this scene here. Well, this scene here, I was struggling with how this graveyard and the perspective and the town and light posts, being in the middle of the street, even though they shouldn't. So I just had to kind of just keep working it to kind of make it work because I wanted it to be this angle. Same thing with like this mailbox scene. it's kind of a weird angle. And I was going to draw on the background, but then I'm like, well, it's just not going to work because this perspective is going to be wrong. So I'll just leave it white, So it's stuff like that. It's like I stick with my thumbnails so closely that I have to try to figure out how to make the anatomy or the perspective work around the thumbnail when it doesn't naturally work that way.
I totally get that. It's funny though, if you stick with that original idea though, you're really sticking to your original creative vision, which I think is valuable.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoy the end result more when I stick to something like that, and so that's kind of why at this point I'm just like, well, that's just it just makes it work. It just works better, than starting with perspective and starting with anatomy and then working around that, working backwards from that, which is, I think, is wise. There's nothing wrong with knowing your perspective and anatomy really good, but I feel like I have it close enough to where I don't have to get rulers out for perspective, and I try to pull it all out of my head. And again, that gives me the freedom to kind of have it be a little bit messed up, and it still kind of works,
Yep. I get that.
I think anyway. At least that's what I like. I've always enjoyed kind of warped and messed up perspective, but you got to really understand it in order to be able to do that. I think pull it off right, so it doesn't look like you accidentally just did a horrible job.
Yep. I think that's the thing though, when you reach a level that you are at, you can make those creative choices and pull it off. I do find my thumbnails and my rough sketches are so ugly, but it's a process. I have to start there and almost sculpt it into something that looks good.
Yeah, I don't think my thumbnails look pretty necessarily, but they tell the story the right way, I guess. Actually get it to where it's the way I want to tell the story. Oh, there's Fuzzy. Welcome back, Fuzzy.
Thank you.
So I don't like my thumbnails as far as like how beautiful they look at all, and it's really trying to push and pull, just like you're saying. What should I keep of the thumbnail versus what should I fix? Like this panel right here, I'm like really sticking to the thumbnail, and it's not working quite. Like here's this girl's mouth, teeth. She's like talking. So anyway, but I like it. I like the thumbnail. I'm trying to figure out how to make this work.
Mhm.
You put out all the fires, Fuzzy?
My my wife went to do some art for the for some people who are I don't know how to. It's art for the situation right now.
Mm-hmm. Art for people.
Art for Georgie. So I had to watch my son for a bit and put him down for a nap just now. So
Sounds good. Whoa.
All right, Jason, before I go too far, is this better? You don't have to show it, but can
No,
you see
I
what
have to click on it so I can see it bigger.
Oh, okay. Is that better with him like blocking the attack? Does that make more sense? Or
I think it's better. It still kind of freezes time because it's not. I mean, is he gonna overpower her with this block, or is she overpowering him?
she will overpower him. Be better if I actually hit him, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it should be after he gets hit
Okay.
instead of freezing. It's the kind of the problem that I had with my picture
The
other day
punch.
of the girl punching
Yeah.
the guy. It looked like it was pausing the time, other than the slobbers coming out of the mouth.
Okay.
But it kind of kept just stopping the time because of how the poses were connecting.
Okay.
You know.
All right. I'm gonna rework it. You can hide me again.
Let's go back to Zach. Back to Zach.
Oh boy. Let's go to Fuzzy. He hasn't been on all this time.
Fuzzy's not sharing his screen though.
oh, my bad. Hang on, I'm doing boring stuff. Let me just do that.
Just doing.
Maria Rice says the meaning of cheese sounds good as a t-shirt idea.
You know, it's funny. I follow a guy that does music production.
Mhm.
He's a Canadian in Ontario, and he has a small music production studio, but he does YouTube videos, and he's a little on the edge. He uses some language, but he makes fun of bass players a lot, saying that they're not that intelligent and they can't do anything right. But every couple of weeks, he produces a T-shirt that's like a print-on-demand T-shirt with a saying from one of his YouTube streams, and people love it. People love it. You know, like if you did a print-on-demand T-shirt of, you know, if people are drawing similarly to you, ... people would probably really like that.
I'd have to give Fuzzy some royalties then.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Let's do it.
Oh, last night I was thinking I need to make a poster for His Name Was Butt. I had like an idea.
I'm gonna put that in my comments now. Somewhere. It was but
Like it was literally just gonna be this. Someone do this for me, okay? So it'd be his name was Butt, you know, and then, or maybe this is smaller. And then it'd be a picture of like some guy looking
See what you're doing,
away,
by the way.
looking away from you. Oh yeah, I can't show anybody. Okay, let me just finish it and then I'll explain it to show. Sorry, I thought I was on. Feels bad. Oh, it's gonna be such a great inside joke.
years and years from now, you know, your kids ask about it, be like, there was this one time, it was hilarious. You just had it been there.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll actually be able to bring up they'll find it. They'll find the stream. And they're like, yeah, no. So how long are you going for today, Jason?
I don't know. Actually, every time I say what I'm gonna do, I don't do it. So
Some days you do. You're like, I have to go to lunch.
yeah. All right, here's my poster idea. He's walking away. He has a kick me sign type thing on his back,
Mm-hmm.
right? Kind of slightly turning his head, almost looking back. There's a lot of like mystery in that, right? Like this
There
could be like
is.
Joker.
I don't know what the exact reference is, but I'm intrigued.
It's definitely the next Joker movie.
Nope, definitely. His name was Bud.
Are you making pie charts and stuff, Fuzzy?
This is how I make color schemes.
Oh, I bet people would like to see that.
So there's something called Palette Generator. It's a really helpful tool just in terms of like getting started. And what I'll do is I'll go around looking for a lot of images that I feel convey the emotions that I'm going for, and then I'll kind of go around, go through picking my favorites. You can see that. I don't know if you can see that. That's super far away. Zoom in a little bit here. Basically, you upload a photo, and it will pick out the colors as best it can.
Wow.
You can limit it from 2 to 10, right? And then you can go in and change the sample to get a better read. Oh.
Doesn't like all the colors.
Excuse me.
Of course, when you want to demonstrate
There we go. So in that, and you can tell that already like brightened it up, and the selection of colors it became very different. And it just takes a little bit of tooling around, and then even after the fact, you can go in and say, "Oh, that's a good basis," and I'll, select here and here, add on or edit the color scheme that you do get out of it, and it's super helpful. So I'm just going through trying to find what I want my palette to be.
Yeah, that's great. I should probably use something like that to figure out pages when I'm stuck, but I haven't been that smart yet. I just keep struggling with it.
What is that site called, by the way?
PaletteGenerator.com.
PaletteGenerator.com. Go. Thing in there. Everybody can have it.
Nice.
Dude, good mod stuff. Good mod.
Good mod. Happy mod. Oh. Come on now. Sometimes it really is just too much.
Well, I'm getting hungry, so I'm gonna bounce.
What? Don't go online. You can't look at the internet while you're eating.
I'm gonna shut off my computer.
What?
Something to eat. I'm gonna go sit down and read a book or something.
Did I miss something?
You weren't here for that whole conversation, Fuzzy. Sorry.
That's all right.
Y'all can fill them in while I'm gone. The importance of not looking online. Bye, buddy.
All right, Zach.
Goodbye.
See you
It was wonderful being friends with you.
Is that implying that it's over now, Fuzzy?
I mean, that's what it feels like. He's leaving us. Oh, he left us. Trying to do two things at once here. Sorry if it looks like there's nothing going on my screen.
That's just fine.
The boundaries of St. Louis are in the shape of a spleen.
Spleen.
How do you even know what the shape of a spleen is?
I don't actually know that. Just a guess. Oh, you know what? Pretty close. Pretty close. Not really, but it looks like an organ of some
Okay.
kind.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows what a spleen looks like.
Oh, man.
This is where I run into problems when I've invested a certain amount of time into something and I become a little bit attached to it.
Mm.
But realistically, I need to scrap it and start over because
Mm.
it's just not working.
I feel you. Totally get it. It's an unfortunate thing that you just have to, rip the Band-Aid.
Yeah. Oh, it's hard though, Fuzzy.
Yeah. I had a art teacher when I was in high school tell me that what I was doing was wrong. So I just tore my piece of art in half. Started over. The longest time my issue wasn't whether or not I could start over, because I was happy to do that. It was just the finishing the thing,
Yeah. Sometimes finishing it's the hardest because you don't know when to stop or what's broken.
I find too, this is where my knowledge of real world martial arts is almost a detriment. Because I know what would really happen if she hit somebody with that staff. But in the world of cartoons, it wouldn't play out in a way that people could read. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I discovered actually last stream. I think the stream before that, I said that I had just realized how to take pictures of my own hands and take poses and things like that on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
I discovered during the stream I can't do that.
Oh, really?
Because my camera is occupied
Yeah.
providing for the stream, so I can't take
Can
poses.
you use your phone?
I could, yeah, I could use my phone. It's not quite the same because I have like a 2-screen setup and I can like put up the big picture on my second screen to use as a reference. But with the phone, it's not quite the same. And it's a little cumbersome to take a picture and then transfer it to the computer and then display it. And
Mm-hmm.
there's something about the immediacy of being able to just snap that picture and pop it on your screen and then use it as a reference. That's kind of nice.
Yeah. Streaming gets in the way.
That's okay though. I think it's a worthy sacrifice to make. I think I just have to bite the biscuit here and just completely delete this pose I've got and start from scratch and come up with something that reads better. And actually, I'm thinking right now, since talking about your punch scene that you did,
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking that it might make more sense if I draw the person receiving the punch or receiving the hit first, and then draw the other person that's delivering it after. Because I can kind of picture the reaction, and then I can model the character delivering the strike to fit that.
Have you guys ever used any posing programs like I don't know if I have any names. Hang on.
I used one called Design Doll.
I've got one called Magic Poser. It's just on your phone and you just move the little person around, and it's helpful because you can like change the perspective, and even if you don't necessarily have to trace it, but like it helps you to understand the layout before you pull the trigger on drawing it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I don't use it all the time, but sometimes when I do, when I've like, I feel like I just can't freaking figure it out. I'm able to like, move the person around and go like, oh, if I just move their arm up a little bit, or like change the angle to over here instead of over there,
Mm-hmm.
because that's so easy to do on a program like that. But when you're drawing it, you can't just change the camera angle. That means you're drawing the whole thing.
That's what I use the Design Doll program for. If I'm really struggling with finding the right perspective on a particular pose, I can put it in Design Doll and I can turn it until I find just the right angle, and then I can use that as a reference. Yeah, I do the same thing for sure. I do a little bit in Blender too. I did that. The horrid mistake of deciding that on the alien planet that my character was going to be on, the primary structure was going to be a pyramid. So all the buildings were going to be pyramids, but they don't lend themselves to normal perspective rulers because they're not straight up and down.
No, yeah.
It's a bit of a struggle to draw them in perspective accurately, you know. And I'm rethinking that idea now.
What's everybody's favorite kind of soda?
Well, that's a random question.
I can't stop thinking about soda, so I'm trying to like turn it into a conversation.
I like root beer. I think at this phase in my life, that's my favorite one.
I actually really like ginger ale.
Do you like ginger beer?
Not particularly, no.
It's delicious. Love that stuff. It's not my favorite soda ever, but it is quite delicious.
Actually, there's a really interesting soda drink here in Nova Scotia called Iron Brew. Have you guys ever encountered that where you are?
No.
No,
No?
that sounds made up.
No, it's
I believe you. It sounds like
it's similar to root beer, but it has a bit of a different taste to it that's kind of unique to Nova Scotia, and it's mostly a Cape Breton thing, but I really quite like it. I don't know
what did you call it?
Iron Brew, and it's spelled it's spelled a variety of different ways depending on who's producing it. But
I thought you said Iron Brute.
no, Iron Brew.
Oh my gosh, it looks like a. Is it a Linei? Like what?
No, it's just like it's just pop.
Do you even know what I mean when I say that? You're from Canada.
No, I don't know what they mean.
A Illini is the Illinois like college like university mascot.
I have no idea what that is.
It's that their colors are orange and blue, and it's a giant eye. This just looks like it was made for them.
Okay. Try typing in, if you're doing a Google search, try typing in IRN-BRU.
Oh no, I found it. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like I'm looking at it right now. It's a Scottish drink, apparently.
Yes, and Nova Scotia is essentially, it's Latin for New Scotland. So we have a lot of Scottish heritage here. It's just a really interesting flavor that's kind of unique that I've never tasted in anything else before.
Well, now I want to get it.
I'm not sure where it comes from, or like I know it's Scottish, but I'm not sure where that flavor comes from. It's quite good. Might have to special order that through Amazon or something. What did you say your favorite was, Fuzzy?
I have a very weird answer to that. It's specifically Gosh darn, it's such a hard thing. It's hard. It's just hard to describe because
It was your question. You should have a simple answer.
Well, I started thinking about that after you said it. I went, oh no, I have to answer it probably. I mean, it's my question. But my answer is Dr. Pepper when the ratio is wrong. So
Wow.
you know how when you go and get like a fountain drink, the way that those fountains are set up is that it's two parts, right? It's dispensing the syrup and the soda water,
Mhm.
and basically mixing it as it's being shot into your cup.
Yep.
Well, I worked at a theater for a bit that had their ratio, like the way that the thing dispensed it was messed up. So it had more syrup than like more syrup to water. And it was delicious. It was the best thing I've ever had. And it's crazy because it wasn't just sweeter, it was like a wholly different flavor.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm so mad that I can't have that more often. I haven't had it since. It's been, over 10 years now.
That's funny. It is funny though how you experience those things in your life that are they're unique and you can't really reproduce them and you want them that much more because you can't.
It's extremely strange. I don't know, and I never mentioned it to the people at the at the place because I didn't want them to fix it.
Is it still that way if you go back there?
I haven't been back, and I said it's been 10 years, and what's funny is the way that I worked there, and that because I didn't technically work there, I was just doing art for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was I saying? The way that it worked out is that I did all this work for sort of free, but I was paid in movies and popcorn and soda, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, when I was in high school, that's great. That was awesome.
That was awesome.
Not only was I allowed to do art in a public place, like in a business, but they were paying me with stuff I probably would have spent the money on anyway. So it's like, whatever, this is great. And specifically, it was, you can come back and watch a movie here literally anytime you want for the rest of your life.
Wow.
Now, I don't know how well they can make that promise.
Yeah.
But basically, they were like, yeah, you're free to whenever you want. And I was like, okay.
Totally have to go back there. See if there's
Oh,
anybody.
yeah. They were so nice. But yeah, that's the thing. If nobody's left, then of course I'm not going to get to. That's not a real option,
Yeah. If none of those same people still work there.
I feel like I told the Dr. Pepper story before.
I don't remember that. Maybe I was really focused or something.
Well, I wasn't here to hear it, so it's all new to me. Just step out again for a second. I'll be right back.
Actually, Craig, I was just going to say I think I'm going to pull the plug on this.
Pull the plug. All right.
So I'm getting pretty hungry.
Well, I appreciate your input, Jason. I am totally rethinking this panel, and I think it's a good thing. So,
Right.
thank you.
I'm glad I could help. All right. Well, thanks for coming on too, Fuzzy and Craig, and thanks for everyone hanging out in the chat. Oh, Ben says, miss Daniel Leesky on your streams. Actually, I'm trying to talk with Daniel about trying to stream with him somehow because he's streaming on Twitch. He has certain times that he streams, and then I don't want to interrupt his stream time, so we're trying to co-stream simultaneously, but it doesn't work really easily with StreamYard. But anyway, it's in the works. We're talking about it, so just so you know. And I think that is it for now. So thank you guys. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. And anything you guys want to say? Anything you want to point people towards?
No.
No.
No. Please check out Origami Princess on Webtoons if you haven't already.
Origami on Webtoons.
Yeah, go check out blackmanic.com. I just updated the whole website. I wiped it all out and updated it. So
blackmanic.com. All right. Sounds good. Okay, guys. We'll see you next time.
Is that person drawing similarly to you? Kill them.
Now where's Craig when you turn into like a duck?
Kids don't understand that.
Jason!
Sorry.
Kids don't understand that.
Jason!
Wow, this is political propaganda.
Turn into like a duck.
Jason!
Watching my